It seems that every day we're reminded that we live in an era of great power rivalry, that the rules-based order is fading.
วันนี้กติกาโลกที่เราเคยรู้จักกำลังเปลี่ยนไปอย่างสิ้นเชิงค่ะโดยมีกรีนแลนด์เป็นจุดเดือดใหม่ของภูมิรัฐศาสตร์โลกหลังจากโดนัลด์ทรัมป์ประกาศกล้าวว่าจะซื้อกรีนแลนด์พร้อมขู่ว่าจะใช้มาตรการภาษีเพิ่มเติมกับประเทศยุโรปที่ไม่เห็นด้วยและย้ำบนเวที World Economic Forum 2026 ที่ผ่านมาว่ายุโรปควรจะมอบกรีนแลนด์ให้สหรัฐเพื่อเหตุผลด้านความมั่นคงฝั่งรัฐสภายุโรปโต้กลับด้วยบาซูก้าทางการค้าหรือการระงับกระบวนการให้สัตยาบันข้อตกลงการค้าระหว่าง EU กับสหรัฐอย่างไม่มีกำหนดแม้ว่าทรัมป์จะมีท่าทีอ่อนลงหลังจากพูดคุยกับ NATO ว่าด้วยกรอบข้อตกลงในอนาคตที่เกี่ยวข้องกับกรีนแลนด์เมื่อวันที่ 22 มกราคมและถอนคำขู่แต่สถานการณ์ก็ยังเต็มไปด้วยความไม่แน่นอนหรือนี่จะเป็นสัญญาณของการล่าอาณานิคมยุคใหม่และจุดสิ้นสุดของกติกาสากลที่เคยยึดโยงกับความร่วมมือและความเป็นพันธมิตรอะไรคือบททดสอบสำคัญที่โลกและไทยต้องเผชิญ
Of course, countries in northern Europe, including both Denmark and Sweden, has a strong engagement in the Arctic area. It's close to us. We know that there is a security policy area up there that we have to be engaged in and cover well. And so does the US. I mean, we are allies in being worried about what happens in the Arctic. At the same time, I think it's really important that we don't rush. We want to de-escalate and contribute to continued peace and good relations and diplomacy, and the international rules-based world order is crucial to this.
คุณผู้ชมคะเมื่อพูดถึงประเทศสวีเดนได้รับการยอมรับในระดับโลกนะคะว่าเป็นหนึ่งในประเทศที่มีคุณภาพชีวิตของประชากรในระดับสูงมีระบบสวัสดิการที่เข้มแข็งอย่างมากและมีบริษัทระดับโลกชื่อดังมากมายไม่ว่าจะเป็นอีเกียวอลโวและ Spotify รวมถึงบริษัทอื่นๆด้วยแต่ท่ามกลางบริบทโลกที่กำลังเปลี่ยนแปลงไปในเรื่องของระเบียบโลกสวีเดนเองก็กำลังต้องปรับตัวอย่างมากเช่นเดียวกันนะคะสวีเดนจะมีแนวทางในการปรับตัวอย่างไรเพื่อที่จะรับมือกับอนาคตของโลกในยุคใหม่วันนี้ดิฉันจะคุยกับเอกอัครราชทูตสวีเดนประจำประเทศไทยค่ะสวีเดนเป็นประเทศที่ยึดหลักความเป็นกลางทางทหารมานานกว่า200ปีจนกระทั่งรัสเซียเปิดฉากรุกรานยูเครนในปี 2022 สวีเดนตัดสินใจวางจุดยืนเดิมและเข้าเป็นสมาชิกองค์การสนธิสัญญาแอตแลนติกเหนือหรือ NATO ลำดับที่ 32 ในปี 2024
I think before 2022, when Russia had the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the popular support for NATO in Sweden wasn't particularly strong. It might have been 30% of the population that supported the idea of becoming a member of the NATO. Right after the invasion, which was in February 2022, the support for joining the NATO got up to 65% or something. So, of course, that was a trigger for us, that the security situation changed completely in our close neighborhood. Sweden has been without military alliances for 200 years. But we haven't been, so to say, neutral for that long. We've had, for example, a partnership with NATO, a partnership for peace since 1994, and we participated in several NATO operations around the world since then. We've also worked a lot on our interoperability between the different NATO countries. We've been part of that work. So NATO is not a new entity to us. And also, actually, Sweden contributes quite a lot when it comes to NATO with regard to high-tech solutions, knowledge about certain geographic areas. So we're also hoping to be a strong member of the NATO and to contribute to its security and deterrence power.
ต้นเดือนมกราคมทรัมป์เริ่มแสดงท่าทีต้องการกรีนแลนด์อย่างจริงจัง ทำให้สปอตไลท์ทั่วโลกส่องไปที่ภูมิภาคอาร์กติกประชาชนออกไปประท้วงแสดงความไม่พอใจและไม่เห็นด้วยกับท่าทีของผู้นำสหรัฐขณะที่เดนมาร์กและกรีนแลนด์ระบุชัดเจนว่ากรีนแลนด์ไม่ได้มีไว้ขายและโต้แย้งว่าการใช้กำลังทางทหารหมายถึงจุดจบของนาโตเดนมาร์กสวีเดนและพันธมิตรส่งทหารไปร่วมซ้อมรบที่กรีนแลนด์ทำให้ทรัมป์ขู่จะขึ้นภาษีนำเข้าสินค้า 10% ต่อ 8 ประเทศยุโรปที่ไม่เห็นด้วยแล้วทำไมมหาอำนาจจึงต้องการกรีนแลนด์สิ่งหนึ่งที่ชัดเจนคือทรัมป์มองว่ากรีนแลนด์คือจิ๊กซอว์ยุทธศาสตร์ที่สหรัฐไม่อาจปล่อยมือเพื่อสกัดกั้นการขยายอิทธิพลของรัสเซียและจีนเช่นการวางระบบป้องกันขีปนาวุธโกลเด้นโดมนอกจากนี้การคุมกรีนแลนด์ยังหมายถึงการกุมอำนาจเหนือช่องแคบ GI-UK Gap ระหว่างกรีนแลนด์ไอซ์แลนด์และสหราชอาณาจักรเพื่อสกัดกั้นทางออกสู่แอตแลนติกของเรือดำน้ำรัสเซียและในมิติเศรษฐกิจกรีนแลนด์ยังเป็นแหล่งแร่หายากระดับโลกซึ่งเป็นหัวใจสำคัญของอุตสาหกรรมชิปและ AI ที่สหรัฐต้องการช่วงชิงความได้เปรียบกลับคืนมาจากจีน
The world situation has changed a lot in terms of geopolitics since Ukraine, Russia, and right now is the issue about Greenland, especially when President Trump mentioned that he really needs Greenland for national security. From Swedish point of view, what's your take on this?
Today, we don't know actually what is actually happening. Of course, we listen, being worried what comes out when it comes to rhetorics from the U.S., listening in to what is said about Greenland and about other security issues in our neighborhood. And what we would hope there is, of course, to have some clarity from the U.S. on their stance in this. Of course, countries in northern Europe, including both Denmark and Sweden, has a strong engagement in the Arctic area. It's close to us. We know that there is a security policy area up there that we have to be engaged in and cover well. And so does the US. I mean, we are allies in being worried about what happens in the Arctic. So we hope that we will find a common way forward. And Sweden is definitely willing to help when it comes to de-escalating and trying to clear out misunderstandings. And we fully support our Danish neighbors in saying today that, you know, it's up to Denmark and Greenland to see what kind of future they want. And of course, it's a question of international law to us, that each country has its right to sovereignty and to decide for their security policy collaborations and situation.
But in terms of defense and security, it must be quite alarming for a Nordic country like Sweden, because you have just increased the budget of defense spending. What's your take on this in the future of security of Sweden?
It's about 400 billion baht. Well, of course, and that comes from, as you pointed to, the geopolitical situation in general. Mainly our increases in defense budget started further back in time. It's nothing that came like this, right? So it's been growing since at least 5, 6, 7 years back, quite steeply. And that is mainly because of the more aggressive policy from Russia. Of course, lately with the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So it has gone up. We are now at a level of, I think, 2.678% or something in part of GDP. And we're aiming for more than 3.5% towards 2030. And it's, of course, it's a result of the situation we're in. A lot of countries are considering the same thing, and Europe is, of course, obliged to invest in our security. And we've heard for a long time from American politicians, not only this administration, that Europe has to take a bigger responsibility for our own security, and we fully understand and we fully support that, and that's why we're living up to this.
What was the figure before?
It depends on what you mean by before. If you look back to right after the Second World War, it was very high, of course. But beginning of 2000, it was probably down towards below 1%. but then it has gone up, and since 2013-14, it has step by step been increased. Maybe because of the fact that we have been neutral, as you pointed to. We have always had a strong defense industry, because you can't be credible being neutral if you can't defend yourself, right? If you're without allies, you have to be able to defend yourself. So we've had a strong defense industry, and that makes it, I wouldn't say easy, but we have capabilities and knowledge to upgrade our systems and to really aim at this 3.5%, even if we're also, of course, buying equipment from other countries.
Given this, the geopolitics and the situation, which is quite uncertain in the whole world, does it mean the arms export industry in Sweden would be more growing?
Yes, like in most countries that produce defense material. That's definitely the case for Sweden too.
So that will also be the case for Gripen, the fighter jet as well?
Well, that's what we see. We see an increased demand or an increased interest, but Sweden doesn't only produce fighter jets. It's also been traditional submarines, it's radar systems, it's electronic defense equipment, it's military vehicles, it's ammunition. So that's what I'm saying, we have a good variety of defense industry actors since our era of neutrality.
But to take a look from overall perspective of EU after the Second World War, do you imagine that EU will have to talk about the possibility of having war again, or probably rising up together with NATO and then against the US?
Well, I mean, we do have war already going on in Europe, right? We have the full-scale invasion of Ukraine right at our doorstep. So I'd say that Europe is preparing for this. At the same time, I think it's really important that we don't rush, and that I think most governments in Europe will say we shouldn't rush. We want to de-escalate and contribute to continued peace and good relations and diplomacy, and the international rules-based world order is crucial to this. So preparing, yes, that's why our purchases and procurements for our defense forces are going up. But at the same time, let's be calm and continue with the work and continue also to build relations, to build peace and stability.
By generating devices into wood or charcoal burners.
ย้อนกลับไป150 ปีที่แล้วสวีเดนเคยเป็นหนึ่งในประเทศที่ยากจนที่สุดในยุโรปแต่วันนี้กลายเป็นประเทศที่ครองอันดับ2ของโลกด้านนวัตกรรมและติดอันดับ1ใน10ประเทศที่มีความโปร่งใสมากที่สุดอย่างต่อเนื่องความก้าวหน้าของสวีเดนไม่ได้เกิดจากปาฏิหาริย์ทางเศรษฐกิจแต่มาจากการออกแบบระบบที่ทำให้คนกล้าคิดกล้าล้มและต้องคิดไกลถึงตลาดโลกตั้งแต่วันแรกภายใต้ข้อจำกัดด้านประชากรที่มีเพียง10 ล้านคนที่สำคัญชาวสวีเดนไม่ได้เป็นเจ้าของคุณภาพชีวิตที่ดีแบบฟรีๆแต่ต้องยอมจ่ายภาษีในอัตราที่สูงถึง 30-50% ของรายได้เพื่อแลกกับระบบสวัสดิการที่ดูแลประชาชนตั้งแต่แรกเกิดจนถึงวาระสุดท้ายเช่นระบบบริการสุขภาพการเรียนฟรีประกันว่างงานศูนย์ดูแลเด็กผู้สูงอายุและผู้พิการ
You have so many renowned international companies like IKEA, Volvo, Spotify. What has enabled Sweden to have come so competitive internationally in terms of brand image?
I think that's a very good question, and it has so many different dimensions to it. Why do good companies, big companies become big? And why is it from certain countries that they come? Is there something special in the fabric of the country as such? I think you could say, Sweden, we're a small country, you could say, 10 million inhabitants. We've always realized that in order for us to grow, to have economic strength and to, of course, have a welfare state for our citizens, we need to be open, meaning companies have to be interested in the outside world. We have to be able to export and import because 10 million people is not enough, neither as consumers or producers or investors, right? So I think openness, building partnerships, and looking for possibilities outside of our country, that's been one important thing for our companies. high level and early initiative to internationalize has always been in the genes of Swedish companies. And then, of course, you have also political initiatives, meaning we have always had long-term policies, policy guidelines from governments of different kinds, sending the same signal in this direction. We're a free trade friendly country, we have strong institutions, we promote our businesses, and it doesn't matter what kind of government sits in the chair, basically. And then I'd say also there is a good collaboration between the government institutions, research, funding possibilities, and also the companies. So you have like a quadruple collaboration between different important actors that are important for the companies, both to be creative, but also to have a long-term security that if you fail as a startup, if you fail as a middle-sized company, there is always sort of a second chance. I mean, there is research money going in from the government, there is policy guidelines that are sustainable and that will continue to be there, so you can be more it's easier for you to take risks, so to say, because you have a fallback. And then you can come into the more sort of philosophical issues. Why are Swedes creative? That's a question that I get sometimes. I think we have a lot of companies that are very innovative. Maybe that also has to do with a little bit of you're not afraid of taking risks. But being creative, we've also had a lot of focus on education. So we have a highly skilled population. And from early age as a child, you're pushed or encouraged to be creative. You know, let loose, think freely, open up your senses for, you know, both receiving and sending. And I think creativity and curiosity, that's really a basic for individuals and for companies to become successful.
150 years ago, Sweden was the poorest country in Europe. But right now you are one of the richest country, one of the happiest country on earth. So what's next? Have you have got time to review how the country has come this far?
Well, I think you can always learn from the history, of course, and you should. But the conditions are also different today from what they were then. So you always, as you say, you have to think in new tracks. Don't think that everything will continue in a linear way, right? I think, though, that the partnerships that we are building, continuing to build, should be strengthened. Because in today's world, you need strong partnerships. You need to collaborate more and more with others. You cannot be just one country, one company, one activity. You have to really have broader partnerships in order to succeed. And that's both for working with risks, but also to working with good flows of capital and innovations and so on. I think research and development areas, no matter what kind of them, are a good proof of this. So I think more partnerships will be the way forward, and trying to further the sort of nurturing of creativity and curiosity. And think outside the box. I think we'll all have to do that.
แม้อนาคตจะเต็มไปด้วยความไม่แน่นอนแต่สวีเดนเชื่อว่าความยั่งยืนเป็นประเด็นที่จะต้องขับเคลื่อนต่อไปที่ผ่านมาสวีเดนพิสูจน์ให้เห็นแล้วว่าการเติบโตทางเศรษฐกิจและความยั่งยืนสามารถเดินหน้าไปพร้อมกันได้ถ้ารัฐบาลออกแบบกติกาให้ถูกทางปี 1967 สวีเดนออกกฎหมายคุ้มครองสิ่งแวดล้อมฉบับแรกของโลกและเริ่มเก็บภาษีคาร์บอนตั้งแต่ปี 1991ทำให้การปล่อยมลพิษกลายเป็นต้นทุนที่ธุรกิจต้องรับผิดชอบจริงภาคอุตสาหกรรมจึงถูกบังคับให้ปรับตัวไม่ใช่เพื่อภาพลักษณ์แต่เพราะโครงสร้างต้นทุนที่เปลี่ยนไปแม้ช่วงหลังแรงกดดันด้านค่าครองชีพจะทำให้รัฐยอมผ่อนคลายบางนโยบายแต่ในโลกที่กติกาการค้าและการลงทุนขยับเข้าสู่ความยั่งยืนมากขึ้นในกรณีของสวีเดนสะท้อนชัดว่าประเทศที่ปรับตัวได้ก่อนย่อมมีแต้มต่อมากกว่า
The other aspect that Sweden is very well known for is sustainability, green economy, or fighting against climate change. And you have set up the goal of fossil free in 2045. Can you tell us more about it? What's your plan and what's your goal?
I think all countries have a sort of, a locality, a positioning on the map, sort of geographically, that can be positive or less positive when it comes to finding green solutions. I mean, Thailand has a lot of sun, for example. That's very good for Thailand. Sweden has less of sun, so we couldn't rely on solar power, really. But we were lucky to have high mountains and a lot of rain. So we, just from being located where we are, we have a lot of hydropower. That helps. We've also had early investments in nuclear power systems and in wind power. So already today, sort of 98% of our electricity supply is fossil-free. So that's a very good start. Then we've had a very clear policy from the government side. We had our first environmental law very early. We had a carbon tax, which was introduced in the 90s. So it's been a clear guidance, once again, from government institutions, no matter what political party has been in power, to go for the green solutions. And there you made plans for each sector of society, to see, okay, what are the regulations that are hampering them, what financial investments do you need, and what innovation research capacities are required to move forward in green solutions. And then this has become a trademark a little bit for Sweden. So we have a lot of companies that are very good at working with green solutions, which of course today are good companies to be established here in Thailand or in other countries where there's also a requirement for green solutions. I think from the beginning of the 90s up until today, we've had 86% growth of GDP, and at the same time, we have cut our CO2 emissions by 19%. So we're always trying to say it's not a contradiction, it's not one or the other. If you combine them, they can actually be reinforcing.
But to learn from Swedish company, each company must have done a lot in order to change their production, their supply chain, or their production process in order to meet the guideline of climate change and for sustainability. What's the trade-off of those companies when they have to change their production to meet the sustainable goal?
It's been taken time, right? So a long time and a lot of clear guidance from government, a lot of possibilities to finance and to take a step-by-step approach when you change. The advantages for Thai companies and for other countries' companies is that there's so many other actors to learn from. I mean, some of the, not only Swedish, but other countries' companies were maybe first in their sector to move in this direction. Then it was more complicated. There was more costs that had to go into innovation, more creativity, new ideas, innovation, and so on.
Clearly, you have very high standard from Sweden and also from EU in terms of fighting climate change. And Thailand is now in negotiation with EU in order to complete the FTA EU agreement. What is your suggestion for Thailand to do more so that we can conclude the EU, FTA EU sooner?
Yeah. Well, several different ideas. I think having a perspective, or as I said, shouldn't be seen as contradictory. It can also offer possibilities to Thai companies to be very advanced on working with green solutions. That's one thing. I know that there are certain regulations that the Thai side find are difficult, especially for smaller and middle-sized companies. So these will be discussed how we can come to the best agreement. I think it's a good pull factor, so to say, for Thai private companies to have good free trade negotiations with the EU at the horizon, because it will also be an incentive for a lot of companies here to modernize. You also have the negotiations of becoming member in the OECD, and there are also requirements to sort of more of a green agenda. So I think negotiations are negotiations, but I think it's also important that you see it as opportunities to modernize your private sector.
You emphasize many times of the strengthened strategic relations, strategic partnership between Sweden and Thailand. In what aspect in particular?
is the commercial domains, so to say. And the defense area is one of them. But there are other areas also. It's political dialogue, which has been raised to a higher level. We also have legal areas where we should collaborate more. I have to say the strategic partnership as such is written in a very overarching way, which gives us a lot of freedom on both sides to fill it with good content. And the content is already there. A lot of the, as I said, the commercial relations are there. It's more sort of framing them, codifying them, and seeing how we should move forward. So it's covers very many areas, and I feel privileged to work with Thai partners on trying to really get the content in good place.
ท่ามกลางระเบียบโลกใหม่ที่เป็นเสมือนความท้าทายที่สวีเดนกำลังเผชิญท่านทูตก็ย้ำนะคะว่าถึงแม้จะมีประชากรไม่มากประมาณ10ล้านคนแต่สวีเดนเองก็ต้องปรับตัวอยู่ตลอดเวลามองหาโอกาสใหม่ๆมองหาพันธมิตรใหม่ๆเพื่อที่จะปรับตัวและอยู่รอดต่อไปอย่างโดดเด่นในโลกอนาคตค่ะทั้งหมดก็คือ The World Dialogue สำหรับวันนี้ดิฉันณัฐฐา โกมลวาทินสวัสดีค่ะ